It's all
All
good.
right, Whitebird. Hey, Whitebird is one of Lionsgate's another Lionsgate movie. It comes from their Faith brand. It is supposedly the sequel to Wonder, but it's actually just a continuation of the story. It takes a different direction. Our antagonist in Wonder, the bully Julian, has been kicked out of school for his bullying. He is now in a new school where he keeps his head down, where he just tries to fit in and just be normal and not be noticed. And then he goes home one day. His parents are gone. They went off to some party, and left is his grandmother, who he forgot was going to visit. Grandmother is played by Helen Mirren. And when he talks about his day, he just goes off, I'm just trying to get through the day. And she says, well, you need to be better than that. And she tells him her story when she was a young girl in France, a Jewish girl. And at this time, the Nazis were just starting to take over France and start rounding up the Jewish citizens of France. And they go to her school, and they began rounding up, and she escapes. And almost getting caught, she is saved by a young man, Julian, who is disabled, has trouble walking because of polio. And he decides that he's going to take her in and basically hide her from the Nazis. And they hide her in the family barn, Julian and his parents, mother played by Gillian Anderson. And this is, I'll say this, there are a lot of Holocaust movies, and this is another Holocaust movie.
Is it like Diary of Anne Frank slightly? I sense shades of that.
Slightly. I mean, there are parallels. Let's just put it that way. But again, Holocaust movies, and I guess we keep these stories out there. We retell these stories to get the stories out to a new generation, because quite frankly, the stories are important, but there are a lot of these stories. Just one thing, it takes place in France, but everyone has British accents, and Helen Mirren kind of slips in and out of her French and British accent. Now, as much as I say that we've seen a lot of these movies, I will say that there are moments that kind of resonate to today. First of all, this idea that neighbors are basically becoming Nazi sympathizers and outing their Jewish neighbors. These the Jews in the city in France are not able to go into stores and restaurants because their kind isn't wanted. Have we heard this story recently? And so I think it's weird how these elements of those stories kind of resonate more today than I have seen it in the past. And but I think, yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So I'll tell you. So the movie points out a couple things. One is the idea that of a community turning on its own, and how you get that, and also the story itself. It's more than just kind of telling Helen Mirren's story. Her name is I forget I've got the notes. I forget the character's name. But the story is really about a higher calling that we all have. For Julian, he just wants to keep his head down. And the story that his grandmother's trying to tell him is, you were made to be better than that. We as people are not allowed to just sit back and let life go by. But there's a higher calling. There are people who need us to stand up for them, and that we need to do. That's kind of what this story does. But again, we've seen it, but I think this is a good story. If you want to take your kid to a mild Holocaust type story, this is probably a good one to take them to. And I'll say this, Lionsgate is failing, but I think it's their faith movies that are the only ones that are succeeding. And I think this is a good family film.
So do you recommend
that subject matter?
Do you recommend it?
I recommend it. I'll give it a 7.
I remember reading The Diary of Anne Frank as a kid, and it really affected me. I mean, and it was horrifying to learn that, she was later killed. And that book had a profound effect on me as a kid. But the story sounds very, similar to that.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I'll say,
I'll just say to your comment. My daughter last year, she must have had a bass teacher because one of the assignments was Elie Wiesel's Night, and my daughter had to read that, and I started reading it with her, and that is a haunting book. Just how how when the Nazis took over, how subversive it was, and how fast it was, and how everyone was caught off guard, even though people were warning them, beware the Nazis, get out, basically they were saying, and people just stayed behind. And and you just feel like maybe history may repeat itself one day.
yeah, it was sad. It's something that relates, but Elon Musk put a tweet out about telling people you're voting for Trump or you're Republican in California, and he talked about the pushback and reaction he got. I mean, you even said we've been working together 7 years on Film Threat together. I mean, you kept getting bummed. You started as a writer and then became the editor, but saying we've known each other professionally working together 7 years. And you admitted to me one time we were in a car going to a screening or something, and you were afraid. What was it? You tell it from your side.
It was just I wasn't going to come out and say I was a conservative.
Right. And you were afraid, but that shows you how people feel. And first of all, by the way, I don't care.
Yes.
I have friends who are on all sides, very liberal, progressive friends. I have conservative and I have religious friends. My friend, Jeremy Kuhn, who's been on this show, he produced Napoleon Dynamite. He's Mormon, and he did that movie. He did that Star Wars documentary on the holiday special, A Disturbance in the Force. So that is a thing. And I think it's weird to experience this religious and political bigotry. Like, you think that we have enough knowledge from the past that we would have learned, and that doesn't seem to be the case. So
I mean, I'll say this, not to get political, but the vice presidential debate a couple of days ago was very interesting because, I mean, weirdly enough, it felt civil. It felt like that you may not have agreed with one side or the other, but there was many opportunities where both of them said, you and I probably agree on this. You and I probably agree on that. And
Alan, Alan, we have so much to get to. We have so much to get to. We've got to move on.
You're the one who derailed this conversation. So I'm just saying,
it's
we can still be civil. We can still be civil. Go next movie.